Hello and welcome. I'm David Hester, and I am your lecturer for this 6-week course in marriage and family relations. I'm glad that you've taken this course for this 6 weeks, and I hope that you will learn a lot about the subject that we're going to be studying because it is one of the most important subjects that we will ever deal with in our lives. The most important decision that we could possibly make is to become a Christian the way the New Testament describes. That's the most important decision. But the second most important decision that we'll ever make is choosing the right mate with whom we're going to spend our life. Whether it's a husband or wife, we've got to make that right decision. And I hope that this class will help you, if you haven't already chosen your future companion, to make the right choice. And if you've already been married and you've been married for any length of time, I hope that the things that you learn in this class will help you be able to strengthen your marriage. If your marriage is having problems, I hope that we can provide answers. If your marriage is going fantastic, I hope this class will make it even better. So I'm glad that you're with us on this journey through this 6 weeks. It's going to go by fast. So that's the reason why you need to watch all of this video. And I'm stressing to you, watch the entirety of this video because we're going to go through the syllabus, all the requirements, everything that you need to know in order to fulfill the requirements of this class. We're going to go over all of that in this video over the next, say 20 to 30 minutes, maybe 2 hours, maybe 2 days. No, just 20 to 30 minutes. I promise you, it won't take that long. It'll go by fast. I've learned doing these videos, they go by quick. So anyway, we'll get started. Now, if you are at the Blackboard class site, and I'm assuming you are because you're watching this video, what I want you to do is go to Syllabus and Policies. You have a drop-down menu on the left-hand side of the screen. It has Marriage and Family Relations with the course number underneath, and then it says Read Me First, Instructor Contact, and all of that. I want you to go down to Syllabus and Policies. Click on the Syllabus and Policies tab. Then, once you're there, click into Syllabus, and that will open up the syllabus for you. And that's what we're going to be going through over the next few minutes. And we're going to be referring to things on the Blackboard class site, maybe clarify some matters. Hopefully, this will answer any and all questions that you have about this class and what's expected of you. Now, let me also stress one thing. It's very important. If you have any questions, email them to me, please. Email them. That's the contact, the way of contact that we have in online classes is email. It's critical. It's critical that you know that. Also, it is critical that if you don't have your Faulkner email account up and running, you must do that, please. Make sure you have your Faulkner email account live and able to take and read emails, because all the communication that I do with the class as a group is done through Faulkner email, and that gets very important at the end of the 6 weeks. We'll talk about that here just in a few minutes. So if you have your syllabus open, I'm going to go through it point by point, and I'm having to look this direction because that's where my syllabus is on the other screen. I'm looking at the camera, which is right above one screen, and then I got a screen over here. Yes, I'm like James Bond. I have multiple screens. Anyway, let's look at the syllabus. All right, it says Syllabus 4, and it says BI 3311, Marriage and Family Relations, the catalog description, a study of mate selection, how to have a successful marriage, and principles of parenting taught from the biblical perspective. Major sociological trends and problems that impact marriage and family relations in Western society will also be observed. Notice, please, the catalog description stresses this is taught from the biblical perspective. We're not teaching it from the perspective of the majority opinion of the United States. We're not teaching it from the perspective of the majority opinion of the world's population. We are teaching this from the biblical perspective, because if we believe that the Bible is the inspired Word of God and it is all authoritative in everything we do, then that must guide us in the matter of marriage and the family. So that's very important this day and time to stress. Of course, this is a 3-hour class with no prerequisite. Getting down to the purpose of the course, I'm on page 2 of the syllabus. The purpose of the course is to acquaint the student with what the Bible teaches regarding the origin and purpose of marriage, and to study current research that will help the student prepare for a successful marriage. Now, a 6 weeks class, you don't have a lot of time to spend, obviously. And that it's obvious we won't have a live class where we meet regularly. This is the only time that I'll be communicating with you directly is through this video, besides email. I'm talking about where you can actually see my face. So when we talk about studying current research, that's going to be done through the context of the textbook, which I will say more about shortly. But the biblical perspective is the most important. The structure of the course, point number 2 on page 2. Since this is a 6-week online course, it is structured differently from a regular face-to-face full semester class. All of the assignments will be posted on the Blackboard class site. Very important that you know about the Blackboard class site. Of course, if you didn't know about the Blackboard class site, you would not be watching this video, right? Well, you know about the Blackboard class site. And all communication by the lecturer, that's me, will be via email. Email, remember that. Please, please, please. Email communication, not phone communication. Email communication. The student is expected to keep up with his or her assignments and to turn them in on time. That is very critical. We must turn in our assignments on time. When you have a 6-week class, that is paramount to understand. Very, very important. The 3 to 5 page essay, yes, you're going to be writing an essay, is not a research paper. Let me stress again, it is not a research paper. It is to get the student to think through the question of what it takes to be a good spouse, and also to help the student express his or her thoughts in a grammatically correct, clear manner. I'll be saying more about that 3 to 5 page essay shortly. Course objectives, point number 3, still on page 2. To demonstrate an appreciation of the Bible as God's blueprint for marriage. This will be evaluated by the online questions covering selected biblical passages. Now you ask, where are those online questions? If you go to the Blackboard class site, and I'm moving my video over here on this screen so I can get on this screen, where I can see myself, that is. So once you go to course content on the Blackboard class site, you scroll down using your mouse, and you will see what says biblical text questions. Biblical text questions. Those are the online questions dealing with various biblical passages. When we talk about online questions concerning selected biblical passages, it's biblical text questions that are under course content. Remember that, please. Then, to identify the meaning and purpose of marriage according to the Bible. This will be evaluated by the online questions covering selected biblical passages. Again, biblical text questions under course content. It is a PDF document. I believe it may be, I think it's PDF. Let me check just to make sure. Scroll on down to it. Yes, it is a PDF document. That means that you have 2 options in replying to those questions. You can either copy and paste those questions into a Word document, or you can possibly create your own PDF document with your answers. Whatever works for you, as long as I get those answers submitted to those questions, that's what we're looking for. Oh, by the way, now that I'm thinking about it, when you submit your assignments online, I prefer that you don't submit it in Pages format. I know some of you have a MacBook and you have Apple computer because it's so superior to Microsoft. I'm just kidding. I joke. I kid. If I did not kid, you would know something was wrong. But anyway, if you have Macintosh or Apple, whatever you call it these days, whatever. Uh, I'm kidding. Uh, Please try to convert that over to Word format before you submit it, because once you submit it in Pages format, either A, I can't read it in the format that I have on my laptop, or it's a complicated process to go in to open up those documents. So I'd prefer, please, that you submit it through Word, or even typing it directly into the assignment page. In other words, you can do that. You can just type in your answers directly. Whatever works for you, is good for me, as long as you get those answers submitted. So back to the syllabus. Point number C: to articulate attitudes and attributes that will make one more mature and marriageable. This will be evaluated by the 3 to 5 page essay and the discussion board questions. Now you ask, essay, I've got to write in this class? Yes, you do. You must write an essay. That essay, by the way, is on the subject, how to be a good spouse. So what does it take to be a good spouse? You're answering that question. You can choose one of several ways to answer that question. What does it take to be a good spouse? You can answer it from the husband's perspective. You can answer it from the wife's perspective. You can answer it from whatever's opposite you. In other words, if you were a lady, you can answer it from the husband's perspective. If you are a man, you can answer it from the wife's perspective, or you can answer it from your own perspective. And if you're not married, then just give me your thoughts. I just want to know what you think. There's no right or wrong answer as such, unless you go completely against the Bible on your answer. Then that's another whole kettle of fish. What we're talking about is your thoughts. I want to know your thoughts as to what makes a good spouse. That's an important thing to think about, because this will help you in the long run when you do get married, and you've been married 5, 10, 15 years. You can go back to your essay that you wrote for this class, compare what you said back then in your essay to what's the reality now in your marriage. And you'll see some things that you'll cringe about. You'll see some things that you say, that's just right. You'll see some things I was completely off base about that. This helps you in being able to make your marriage what it ought to be, because you go through experience, and experience teaches you a lot of things along with what the Bible says. So that's the reason why I'm asking you to do that. Now, if you go into course content, you will also see, once you're down there under biblical text questions, you will see what's called essay rubric. Essay rubric. So, what I want you to do, if you can, please, is to click into essay rubric. Click into essay rubric, because this essay rubric tells you exactly what I'm expecting on the essay. It's not a research paper. That is, there are no footnotes. You don't have to fill with footnotes. That's not required. Works cited, not required. I'm wanting your thoughts, please. So let's look at this essay rubric together. There are levels of achievement. There's the novice, competent, and proficient. So it's divided, the weights of this essay is divided into formatting, organization, and grammar. Formatting, what do I require? I require the paper to be double spaced. Did you hear that? Double spaced. Let me say again, double spaced, not single spaced. Not single spaced. If your essay is single spaced, I will know that you did not watch this video, and I will also know that you did not look at the rubric. So, double spaced. 12 font. Again, 12 font. Times New Roman. Not Arial. Not Wingdings. Who uses Wingdings? Not Georgia. Not Tahoma. Whatever else font that you may use. Times New Roman, please. So double space, 12 font, Times New Roman, 3 to 5 pages in length. Now, when I say 3 to 5 pages, I mean that your essay must be at least 3 full pages. 3 full pages. I'm not saying 2 2/3, not 2.5, not 2 1/4, not 2 and a little bit on the top of a third page. 3 full pages, please. I've had people turn in essays that were typed directly into Blackboard. It's a no-no. And when I converted it over to Word document, after I double-spaced their single-spaced submission, it turned out to be maybe 1.5 pages. That don't work. At least 3 full pages. And try not to go over 5, please. If you go a little bit over 5, say like 6 or even 7, that's okay. Just don't go way over 5 pages. I doubt you'll have that problem. So that's formatting. Double space, 12 font, Times New Roman, 3 to 5 pages. Organization. What do I want you to do in your paper? Address the question. What does it take to be a good spouse? Then I say in this rubric, giving both sides of the question. Not necessarily. Normally, I do require this in essays and papers. Giving the side is what I should say about this, because you're saying, what does it take to be a good spouse? Now, if you want to deal with both sides, that's fine. Both husband and wife, that's good. But give the question as it's worded, what does it take to be a good spouse? Give the possibilities that is in your mind, is what I'm saying. Then give your opinion concerning the question. What does it take to be a good spouse? Give me your opinion. I want to know what you think. And as long as you make your case, that's fine. Now, if you go completely off the wall, that goes against the Bible, then I will call you on it. But I doubt you'll do that. Just tell me, what does it take to be a good spouse that is in your mind? And you should be good. Grammar. Let me tell you something. Where a lot of essays fall short is in grammar. What do I require? No persistent spelling errors or grammar errors. You're going to occasionally have a misspelled word. I have read through academic books from premier institutions, Oxford, Yale, Harvard, and I will find a misspelled word. I will find a grammatical error, and it never ceases to amaze me that it gets past the publisher. But I had a publisher tell me one time years ago that published one of my books that he has not seen yet a book in print that did not have at least one mistake, because people are human. No matter how many eyes you have looking at it, no matter how many reviewers you have combing through it for errors, you're going to have at least one mistake normally. So, no persistent spelling errors. That is, if you have misspelled words all the way through from start to finish, that's a problem. That's a major problem. If you have persistent grammatical errors, I'm talking about minor grammatical errors, like, for example, noun-pronoun agreement. That's a very common mistake that students make. When you have a singular noun and you put a plural pronoun with it. A spouse must make sure that they are the kind of person that they would want to be. That's just a sentence I came up with off the top of my head. That is an example of a noun-pronoun disagreement. A spouse must make sure that he, not that they, he, a spouse, he or she, if you're writing it from the woman's perspective, a spouse must make sure that she, not a spouse must make sure that they. Do you see the problem? Plural pronouns don't go with singular nouns. Please, 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 please refrain from that error. Oh, that's so common. And I don't know where it's coming from, but I see it so often. Don't be guilty of that error. Once or twice, again, you're going to make your mistake. But if it's persistent, that's a problem, okay? So, no persistent spelling errors or grammar errors. Number 2, no run-on sentences or sentence fragments. If you have a run-on sentence, which means you've got 2 sentences that are stuck together with no separation, or if you have a sentence fragment where you start a sentence and you don't finish it, that's a major error. That's a major infraction. That's 10 points off automatically. Automatically. That is a major no-no. No run-on sentences, no sentence fragments. Number 3, sentences are clearly understandable. Overall thoughts fit together and they make sense. In other words, I've got to be able to understand it from start to finish. And if you write, you'll normally be understandable. But I've seen some sentences where I didn't know what in the world the person was trying to say. Don't just jumble words together. Don't be like a word salad where you just throw words together and hope they fit. No, please. Express your thoughts clearly, and you should be good. So if you follow those instructions in the rubric, you'll do fine on your essay. That's what I expect on your essay. And please, please, please turn the essay in on time. Do not wait until the last minute. We'll say more about waiting till the last minute here momentarily. So, getting back to the syllabus. Point D, to consider the importance of building a marriage relationship on love and integrity. This will be evaluated by the online questions covering the textbook by Nick and Nancy Stinnett. Now, hopefully, you have already purchased your textbook. If you have not purchased your textbook, shame on you. Well, I mean, really, you need to purchase your textbook. We'll identify it here momentarily. Now, where are these questions covering the textbook? The questions, once again, are under course content in marriage and family relations. And you'll see once you go to course content, scroll up to the top, you'll see chapter 1 reading questions, chapter 2, 3, 4, all the way down to chapter 17. 17 documents, 17 chapters. You must answer the questions. And basically, they're all the same. The first 2 are different. The first 2 are more involved. But chapters 3 through 17 are all asking the same thing about the chapters. But to be able to get full credit for this, you've got to demonstrate that you've actually read the chapter. And so you'll see that immediately once you open the document. It'll say that you must express in X number of words, thus and so. That means you've got to have read the chapter. And you've got to put down how many pages of the chapter you have actually read. And if you put down a number that's short of the actual number of pages in the chapter, points will be counted off for the difference. In other words, if it's like, say, 25 pages that you must read, and you put down, I've read 20 pages, 5 points off. If it's 25 pages and you put down 15, 10 points off. You see the problem? If you put down 23 and it's 25, you'll get 2 points off. So make sure you put down the number of pages, the full number of pages that you have read. Then, based on that, answer the questions. And at the end of each one of these, I think except for the first 2, maybe the first 2 has them, I don't know. You'll be asked to cite a biblical passage and make a statement or comment about it in connection with the chapter. If you don't do that, you won't get the points on that part of the assignment. So make sure you read through all the questions, answer them all, and that way I'll know that you have read the textbook. We'll say more about the textbook momentarily. Point E, again, page 2 of the syllabus. To integrate strategies that lead to strong marriages. This will be examined by the final exam. Now, I will say more about the final exam momentarily. On the the assignments tab of marriage and family relations, if you go to it, you will see that there are slots where you will turn in your assignments. If you go to assignments, you'll see at the top it says biblical passage questions, then essay on how to be a good spouse, and then final exam, and then chapters 1 through 17 reading questions. This is where you will turn in your assignments, right here on the assignments page on the Blackboard class site. So if you have any questions about where to turn in something, y'all know that you have not watched this video. You go to the class site, go to assignments, and that's where you'll turn it in on the appropriate place. So you'll turn in your final exam once that time comes there on that section of the page. Now, back to the syllabus. Point number 3, bottom of page 2. Course premise, philosophy, and methodology. Marriage is God's idea. He has provided us His plan for successful marriage in His Word. Our primary emphasis in this course will be to better understand God's plan and how that plan translates into daily life. Deciding whom to marry and when to marry have eternal ramifications. So all of us in this class should give proper priority to our study together. Comments, questions, and helpful ideas from students will be encouraged by the instructor. That's me. So if you have any questions about it, feel free to ask. Now, points number 4 and 5 are the netiquette expectations and the course policies. Those are listed in the Marriage and Family Facebook page under syllabus and policies. Under syllabus and policies, you'll see that there is the academic integrity policy, the online attendance policy, the online grievance policy, the online incomplete policy, and the online and netiquette policy, which you see here on the syllabus. There are links to each one of these here. So you've got your resources in case you have a problem on these areas. Now, content outline, point 6, page 2 of the syllabus. Preparation for marriage, God's plan. Selection of a mate, what the Bible says about sex, sexual relations in marriage. You'll be looking at that in the textbook. Not looking at that. Well, anyway. Point D, the best available research and concepts on marriage success. What I meant to say is you'll be reading about these kinds of things in the textbook. Resources, point number 7. Required textbooks, the Bible, obviously. A major translation is what I want you to have. That is what I want you to study from. Whether it's the King James or the English Standard Version or the New American Standard Bible, whatever translation you have, not a paraphrase, not the Living Bible, not the Message, please, none of that. That's paraphrase. That's not a translation. To a major translation of the Bible, that's the kind of Bible I want you to use. Then, the main textbook that you'll be using in this class, in this 6 weeks, is this. Intimate Relationships, Marriages and Families by Nick and Nancy Stennett, DeGeneva and Rice. This is the 9th edition of the textbook. That is the edition that I want you to have. Please make a note of that. The ISBN number, let me get up here. There it is, right there. 9th edition. So make sure you've got that right there. That's the edition, not an earlier edition. This is the edition that you must have. Intimate Relationships, Marriages, and Families. This is published by Oxford Press, and it's worth every penny that you pay for it. It's not a cheap book, but there's a reason for that, because this has up-to-date information. It has great advice from Nick and Nancy Stennett and Mary Kay DeGeneva and F. Philip Rice. It is worth the money that you pay for. This book will help you. It will help you in the long run. Not only in this class, but in life. So I recommend it highly. Then, selected material from me on the Blackboard website. And that material that we're talking about is under course content. You go to course content and you scroll on down, and below the essay rubric, you see 3 items. Does your home abide in the doctrine of Christ? The Bible in the home? And what have they seen in thine house? Those 3 items are PowerPoint presentations. And I'll say more about the significance of those PowerPoint presentations here in just a moment. Suggested resources I have there listed at the bottom of page 2. Research help 24/7, ask a librarian, reference assistance. And I think that is available on the Blackboard website as well. So, course requirements and evaluation. What am I requiring? Number 1, the online questions, to which I've already referred. Included will be questions concerning covering the textbook, which we've said are on the course content. And selected biblical passages, the biblical text questions that pertain to marriage. This will not be a test. It is open book to ensure the students are reading the material. In order to receive an A for this assignment, the student must answer correctly 90% of the questions. So make sure that you do those assignments. Number 2, the essay. This will be a 3 to 5 page double-spaced essay. Excuse me. We've already gone over the requirements of it. On the topic, what does it take to be a good spouse? In order to receive an A for this assignment, the student must meet the requirements of the rubric, which we've already gone over, that is posted on the Blackboard class site under course content. Now, number 3, the discussion board. There will be 4 questions posted during the 6 weeks. 4 discussion board questions. Students are required to answer them and engage in discussion via this method. In order to make an A on this assignment, the student must respond in a 6 to 8 sentence paragraph to each question. Notice, 6 to 8 sentences, not 1 sentence, not 2 sentences, not 3, not 4, not 5, 6, at least 6 sentences, 6 to 8. And answer the question and reply to at least 3 fellow students. And when I say reply, I'm not just saying, good job, bro. No, that's not what I'm saying. Or fully agree with you. Duh. No, we're talking about interaction. Making a specific comment. Whether you agree or disagree. I want you to try to interact with your fellow students because we only got a limited amount of time. So this is the way that the class will talk with one another, is through the discussion board. Now, let me go over to the discussion board. I don't have anything posted as the day that I'm recording this, which is actually in May of this year. Go figure. There's nothing in there right this moment. But that will change. If you're already reading or looking at this video, most likely I've already got the introduction discussion board question posted, which is not graded, by the way. The introduction discussion board is to introduce yourself. Let us get to know you. Tell a little bit about yourself, what you expect from this class. That is there to get your attendance, quote unquote. If you don't respond to that, I'll have to count you absent because of the nature of the length of the course. So make sure you respond to that initial question so I can then say that you are present and actually responding in this class. Make sure you answer that. Then the following week, there will be, and for the next 4 weeks after that, there will be a discussion board each week. Each week. They will be posted. Let me make sure I get this right. They will be posted on Sunday night of the week. They will be due by Friday of that same week at 5 o'clock. You understand? They'll be posted at the beginning of the week on Sunday, and they'll be due on Friday by 5 o'clock. If you post after that, it will be counted late. I will still accept your answer to the discussion board question, but points will be deducted. What I do when I deduct points on discussion board, if they're late, initially I'll take off 10%, which would be 5 points. You'll be counted off initially 5 points if it's turned in late, if it's within the first week. If you wait and wait and wait, more points are counted off. That is, if you wait for 2 weeks after the question is posted, you'll have 10 points counted off. If you wait another week, it'll be another 10 points. Or another, well, I say 5 points, I'm sorry. Well, depending on how late you turn it in. So please, just don't turn it in late. Because you wait till the last minute, yes, your points on the discussion board will be non-existent almost. Just make sure that you answer the question in that same week by Friday at 5, and you won't have anything to worry about. So make sure you respond to it. There are 4 questions that will be graded during the 6-week period. Now, point number 4, final exam. This exam, which will be turned in through assignments, will cover specified questions from the PowerPoint material that I referred you to under course content. That is, you go to course content, scroll down, and you'll find those 3 items. Does your home abide in the doctrine of Christ, the Bible, and the home? What have they seen in thine house? You will open up those PowerPoint presentations. And when the final exam is sent to you, more on that in a moment, when the final exam is sent to you, you will then go to those PowerPoint presentations and find the answers. Open notes. See? Not that difficult. So make sure that you try to find those answers and answer the final exam accordingly. In order to make an A, by the way, the format will be true, false, and multiple choice. True, false, and multiple choice. No discussion questions on that. True, false, multiple choice. In order to make an A, the student must answer correctly 90% of the questions. So, how do we determine the grade in this class? We're now on page, let's see, are we still on page 2? No, we can't be. We're on page 4. Sorry, we're on page 4 of 5. I was not clicking into my document, sorry. On page 4, course grading, point number 9. Determination of the final grade will be based on the following: final exam, online questions, essay, discussion board questions. We've already gone through that. When grades are averaged, I will round to the nearest whole number. That is, if it's 0.5, 0.6, I'll go up to the next number. I will not give a point when averaging scores. That is, if your average is below 0.5, 0.4, 0.3, in other words, if it's like 89.1, 89.2, 89.3, 89.4, I will not give you that 90. If it's 89.5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I will round it up to 90. That's the explanation of that. The following scale will be used to determine final grades: 90 to 100A, 80 to 89B, 70 to 79C, 60 to 69D. I expect everybody to make an A in this class. I think you can. If you expend a little bit of effort, you can make an A in this course. And I hope, most importantly, that you get something out of this class that you can use in your life. So, unit level weekly objectives is a suggested way to approach this class. This is just my suggestion to you, which includes the assignments, but this is an approach that you can take. Week 1, identify what you expect from this course by replying to the discussion board. Also tell us something about yourself and begin work on your essay. Week 2, analyze how society views marriage by responding to the first discussion board question. Continue to work on your essay. Week 3, explain how Hollywood's view of marriage is different from the biblical standard by replying to the second discussion board question. Continue to work on your essay and also work on answering the online questions covering the textbook. Week 4, anticipate what problems you foresee in the future for marriage by answering the third discussion board question. Develop the qualities of what an ideal spouse should have by turning in the finished essay, which is due this week, week 4. Finish your online questions and study for the final exam by studying the PowerPoints. Week 5, describe the ideal marriage by responding to the final discussion board question. Demonstrate your understanding of the textbook by turning in the answers to the online questions, which are due this week, week 5. Week 6, Summarize what the Bible has to say about marriage and the family by turning in answers to the final exam, which is due this week. That's a suggested way of approaching the class, which is methodical. You can approach it in other ways, as long as you get your assignments turned in. So, course calendar. Notice point 11 on page 5. Since this is an online 6-week course, the deadlines are different from the traditional semester course. Thus, it is even more imperative that you take responsibility to turn in all work on time. Please do that. There are no weekly due dates except for the discussion board questions. All other work is due by the dates that are specified below. You may turn in your work, though, at any point before the due dates. If you want to get everything through, except for the final exam, if you want to get everything through in the first 2 weeks, that's fine. Now, the discussion board questions, you'll have to wait till they're posted. But I'm talking about the written assignments, the textbook assignments, the biblical text questions. If you want to get all that turned in early, by all means, do that. That helps me out. All work is to be submitted through Blackboard under the assignments section. There are places to submit your work there. I do not accept any assignments by email. Do not send your assignments by email. Do not do that. If you do, I'll know that you did not watch this video and that you didn't watch it all the way through. Do not turn in your assignments by email. It's through the assignments section of Blackboard. If you have issues, contact me by email. I'll be happy to help. All right, so what's the calendar on this? July 19th, that's Friday, July 19th, the essay is due by 5 o'clock p.m. Make sure you turn it in. July 26th, the answers to the online questions are due by 5 o'clock p.m. That's the biblical text questions and the textbook questions. August 2nd, the final exam is due by 5 o'clock. Notice what I say. The final exam will be emailed to you a week ahead of the due date. It will be open notes. Again, it will be emailed to you a week ahead. If you email me and say, Dr. Hester, I haven't found the final exam on the Blackboard site, guess what? I'll know that you haven't watched the video and you haven't watched it all the way through. The final exam will be emailed to you a week ahead. And where will that email be found? In your Faulkner email. If you contact me but by another email account, I will know that you did not watch this video. And not only that, I will also know that you did not look at the Blackboard site. When you click into Blackboard, the first thing that you see is a Read Me First page. That's the first thing that comes up. So when you go to Blackboard, you're sent to Read Me First. The top note that I put on Read Me First says important. When I say it's important, it means it's important. To all students, all communication from me to you is done through your Faulkner email. If you do not have your Faulkner email account set up, it is vital that you do so now. If you contact me by another email account about the class, and if you persist to do that, and you're asking, why am I not receiving something? Why am I not hearing from you? I'll know that you haven't paid attention. That you haven't paid attention to the Blackboard site and that you haven't watched the video, or at least watched it all the way through. Underneath the important post, you'll see discussion board. Important. Again, that's important. The discussion board questions each week record your participation in this class. It is vital that you answer each question as it is posted each week. Your attendance in this class is based on it. So, if you're not responding to your discussion board question, and or if you're not communicating back to me from the Faulkner email, I'll know that you haven't paid attention, you haven't been reading. Don't do that. Make sure that you check your Faulkner email. All communication from me to you will be done that way. So August 2nd is when the final exam is due by 5 o'clock p.m. That's Friday, August 2nd. That means that the final exam will be emailed to you on July 26th. I might be a little bit late depending on what I've got going that week, but I promise you it will be emailed to you. I plan on doing it on July 26th. And then you'll have a week to get that done and turn back in. At the bottom of page 5 of the syllabus, my contact information. Email, office number, and the phone number. But please, if you're going to contact me, do it by email. I do check my email all the time to the chagrin of my wife. I contact it constantly. I check it constantly, and I respond as quickly as I get a message. So you can be assured that I will be responding back to you if you have a question to ask or if you have any comments or concerns. I hope that you really do get something out of this course. I've been married for over 30 years to my wife, and we have 2 sons, both of them grown. By the time you watch this video, both of them are married. Our oldest son, Will Hester, is preaching up in Tennessee. He and Sarah have been married since June of 2016, or May of 2016. Let me get it right, May of 2016. And they have 1 son. I am a grandfather, by the way. I know it doesn't seem possible looking at me, but anyway, Lance is their son, and he's by the time you see this, oh man, he's coming up on a year. Oh, he's pushing it. He's born in November of 2018, so he's coming up on a year. And he's growing just tremendously. But he preaches up there in West Tennessee. And then Jonathan, our youngest son, works for Governor Kay Ivey, Alabama Governor Kay Ivey. He is a policy advisor to her. He worked on her campaign last year as field director. He has worked in D.C. in years gone by in different aspects politically. He met his now wife, Bree, when they were both interning in Washington, D.C. She is from Mississippi originally, South Haven, Mississippi. I was privileged to perform their wedding in June of this year at Columbus, Mississippi. And they are happy together. They're living in Birmingham. She works for a nonprofit organization in Birmingham. And as I said, he works for the governor. And they're doing well. So I know a little bit about what good marriage has involved in it. And a good marriage, you're going to have problems. You're going to have difficulties. You're going to have issues that arise. How do you address those issues? How do you address those difficulties and those problems? Those are critical questions to know the answer to. And you know what? A better marriage starts with me. A better marriage starts with me. If I want to improve my marriage, if my marriage is having problems, you know where I start? Me. I start with myself. What am I doing wrong? Am I not responding to my spouse the way I ought to respond? Am I always constantly just, jumping at him or jumping at her? Am I responding in a hateful way? Am I responding in an angry way? Am I allowing my job, my work, to affect my marriage? Am I bringing it home? These kinds of questions need to be asked. Am I withholding intimate relations from my spouse because I'm not getting my way? That's a problem. A lot of different issues come up. Financial problem is one of the biggest problems. How do we pay the bills from week to week, from month to month? How do we make our income work? Those kinds of things are problems that need to be addressed. But even in the midst of all those problems and all those issues, marriage is the greatest thing that you'll ever experience besides your relationship with Christ. Obeying the gospel of Christ is the most important decision you'll ever make. Believe in Jesus, repentance of sin, confession and faith in Christ, and being baptized for the forgiveness of sins. That puts you into the body of Jesus, the church. That's what the New Testament says to do to become a Christian. What must I do to be saved? The New Testament answers it clearly. So that's the most important decision you make. That's the most important relationship you can have, is with Christ, with God, with the Spirit. But in that second most important relationship, marriage, you can have a little taste of heaven on earth. I know from experience. My dad and mom were married over 50 years. My grandparents were married over 50 years. My wife's parents were married over 50 years. Do you see a pattern here? Good marriages, long-lasting marriages, take work. They take two people working together to make it so. You're going to be dedicated and committed to that relationship. You are committed to the vows that you take. They're not just words that you say to make it legal. There are words that you say in the presence of God and the company that is present there. You're saying, I promise that I'm going to do this. I pledge myself to this relationship. And if you take those vows seriously on both sides, the marriage is going to be strong. And it's going to weather any storm that comes its way. It's so important that we take those vows seriously. It's so important that we dedicate ourselves to the task of having good marriages, finding the right person. You know, let me tell you a little story. I know I'm going a little over time, but hey, you know, it's what, 52 minutes? Let's make it an hour. Just joking. A friend of mine in my days in college at Freed Hardeman in 1900, and none of your business. Anyway, this friend of mine, who is a year or two older than me, we were catching up. It was years after we graduated. And his dad, who has now passed away, his dad was having major surgery in Birmingham. And we were talking about things, and he told me he was single. He had never gotten married at that point. He said, David, can you believe the number of people that we were in school with who are divorcing, who are having marital problems? Can you believe it? And he named several, and we never would have thought that these people would have had problems. And we're just shaking our heads at it. And he said, he said, one reason why I haven't gotten married is I'm waiting for the right person. Now, get this. He was in his mid-40s at this point. He had never been married. His mother was still living. Great, good woman. His dad was a gospel preacher. His mother was concerned because my boy's not gotten married. But he told me the reason is he hadn't found the right person. He wanted to make sure that he had what his parents had. Do you know, within not long after we had talked, he found the right person? He married a girl from Mobile, Alabama, the Mobile area. And in short order, they had 2 sets of twins and 1 other child. You heard it right. 5 children. He was making up for lost time. Well, they've had a very happy marriage. She, by the way, his wife, has since been diagnosed with breast cancer. She had a double mastectomy. But he's right there with her. She's right there with him. And those children are just as beautiful and as loving as you'd ever see. If you have waited a long time to get married, don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. My wife was 30 years old when we met. She didn't mind me telling that. She tells it herself. She was 30 when we met. Yes, that means I'm younger than she is. She robbed the cradle. Yeah, 7.5-year difference between us. And she said when she had it's a long story to go into. I won't go into the whole thing. She had a party at a get-together at her apartment where she was living. Wanted to meet people her own age. And she said when she opened the door and I was standing there, she said that was it. And I said, of course. I'm joking. It's a joke. I kid. Anyway, she was waiting for the right person, and she found the right person. I'm kidding too much. We found each other. That's what I'm trying to say. I had never loved anyone before I met my wife. Never truly loved another woman before I met her. She's the only woman I've ever loved in my life. And she can say the same thing about me. And we've been dedicated to each other all these years, these 30 years. You can do it. I have faith in you. I have trust in you. Let the Bible be your guide in everything that you do, including marriage, and your marriage can be what it ought to be. Thanks for your patience in watching this video. I hope that you have a great 6 weeks. Again, if you have any questions or comments or snide remarks, just feel free to email me at dhester@faulkner.edu. Thanks a lot.